welcome in. The floor is yours, our weekly exercise and you getting to see our faces. I'm Ethan Skolnick here with Greg Sylvander. You know us from 5 on the Floor. We're bringing on a couple of the folks from our YouTube channel who are currently on other programs and are now adding more programs. What the hell do you know here? I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly. Above me, Ariel Attias. Did I get it right?
Almost same as the pod. Still
Attias.
Well, Adam Bari, Baro, I don't know. I don't know what I do with Adam's name. You can find Ariel on PostUp5R, but also he's got a new program he's going to tell you about here before we end. Also, gentleman with very similar facial hair, Michael Christian. You can currently find him on Clutch Corner, which actually is going to air on Thursday this week. He's got another new show, so he'll tell you about that one too. Greg and I don't have new shows. We just do the same damn show every night. We did one last night. This is sponsored by, you can see it on the bottom, our friend Mark Brown, PA. You can find him at Mark Brown, PA. His real name is not PA. It's Mark Brown. But it's Mark Brown, PA. You can find him at markbrownpa.com. You got to go to him for a couple of different reasons. One, if you're doing estate planning, he's the guy to go to for sure. If you're young with a family, you got to make sure that they're taken care of. So set up a meeting with him, set up the plans for the kids if anything unfortunate ever happens. We know the world that we're in right now. And also, you can check him out if you want to get your title done. He just took care of my apartment for me. He gave me he got it done. It was easy. It was smooth. $295 by mentioning 5 Reasons. So since that's the name of the company that I'm in, it was easy for me to remember. It should be easy for you to remember too. 5 Reasons. MarkBrownPA.com. 954-566-5678. 954. I just know you see a different phone number there. I'll give you this one. 954-248-4068. 954-248-4068. He's got 2 numbers. All right, let's get to it. We're going to expand on something we did last night. Pretty spirited debate after the game last night. I couldn't do your typical post-game wrap-up because, I mean, they were playing a JV team. So we sort of went off on this tangent about Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn. And essentially, I was trying to challenge Alex and Greg on this and see where the line is, because I know both of them are more Tyler Hero guys than Kendrick Nunn guys. But lately, Tyler Hero has been, I mean, let's just be honest, he's been dreadful. I mean, the last 3 games, he's been pretty much unplayable, whereas Kendrick, every time he gets an opportunity lately, seems to play pretty well. And I understand all the politics. I also understand all the other factors involved, contracts, all the rest of this, younger player. Don't want to lose Tyler's confidence. We talked about all of this last night, but we need to bring on 2 others here. So that's why we've got Ariel and also we've got Michael. Now, I forgot which of you is on which side of this. So I think this is
visual.
lined up the way it is. Okay.
I'm on whatever side is opposite Michael.
Okay, so then because of that, I'm going to go to Ariel first.
Biased, super biased.
So tell me why it is that you think once Victor Oladipo is back, if he's back, he's just tweeting about, I don't know, being a tourist today. Once he's back, why do you think it is that Kendrick Nunn should get the nod over Tyler Hero if it's choice of one or the other?
I just think he's been a much more steady player for the Heat this season. I feel like, if you look at the numbers, his stats are Tyler Hero's stats have kind of gone down a little bit from last season. The per 36 numbers are there hasn't been a jump. Actually, the points per game have gone down. But frankly, Kendrick Nunn's a better shooter. And I think that's really what it boils down to. I trust him more. When you've got a guy like Victor Oladipo, guys like Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, who can get to the rim, collapse the defense, and then spray to shooters, I'd rather have, at least this year, I'd rather have Kendrick Nunn taking that shot when he's shooting I think he's at 38% from 3, and Tyler Hero shooting 33% from 3. I also feel like, Kendrick Nunn has shown, and you guys talked about this on the pod last night, a resiliency and an ability to, regardless of what the situation is, no matter how many times he gets yanked from the lineup, you put him back in and he gets right back to business. He just gets right back to doing what he's been doing. And he just feels more steady to me. He's gotten better. He's improved on some areas that he wasn't so good at last year in terms of like being able to better pick his spots in the game, knowing when to attack, when to look for passes. He doesn't try to force passes in windows that just aren't there anymore as much as he did last year. So he's improved in that area. And while Tyler's tried to improve in that area, I don't feel like there's been much of a gain from, his play in the bubble, where he looked really good creating out of pick and roll and in space. He did a lot of things that just haven't translated the same way this year. So I kind of trust Kendrick Nunn more because he's more steady to me.
All right, Michael, opportunity to provide a counter here. This came in, I think it was from Christian, that said, if Nunn's better at this, and this, what exactly is Tyler better at right now? I will leave that to you. What is he better at?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to debate some of those points. I think Kendrick Nunn's shooting is helped by the fact that he gets to start alongside better players, and they definitely help space the floor a little bit differently. It definitely helps him open up his game a little bit more, as opposed to Tyler needs to create it for himself a lot of the time, right? Kendrick helps everybody else after they've created something. You've also got the playmaking. I would argue that Tyler's a better playmaker. Maybe not necessarily a better dribbler, but he's, in my opinion, a much better playmaker. I think Kendrick is just now starting to learn how to play with his bigs, and you've seen it, and it's happened. And I've got to say, last season, I was not very big on Kendrick Nunn. This season, he's absolutely turned it around. I do hate Chicago. That is true. But like the thing is with Kendrick, he's learning to play with the bigs. He's starting to throw the alley-oops, but Tyler knows how to play with them better. He knows how to work better with the rest of the team. He fits the offense better. And the only way this argument comes up is if Depot comes back, where do the minutes go? I think having Kendrick and Depot is redundant, and Depot is better at basically everything except for the three-point shooting, which, because he's streaker on that, he's probably not as consistent, but Depot gives much better defense. I mean, if you watch that Rockets game, Nunn was getting blown by, it felt every other possession just super easily. I just think if this is a debate, it's when Depot comes back, who plays? Nunn has to lose the minutes because he has to be lower on that list than Tyler Hero.
All right, now these look, and I understand this from both perspectives. I know, Greg, you and I dove in a little bit more to the, I don't want to say political elements of this, but there are other elements. So let's address the other elements here, okay? Element number one, and I'll start here with you, Greg, and let you tee it off to the two of them. But element number one is the concern that if you shelve Tyler Hero, that A, you're diminishing him as an asset, and B, you're wrecking his confidence. So, Greg, how would you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how big concerns those are? And then we'll go to the other two guys.
I would say those concerns are probably somewhere hovering around a 7 for me. I feel like for some reason, Tyler Hero, if he was benched or his minutes were minimized, that would be a louder noise than anything that would happen with Kendrick Nunn. I've said that before. I think that it's inescapable. And I just don't see the Heat moving in a direction where they are going to I just don't think Tyler's playing bad enough to justify just shelving him completely. Like we talked about his shooting earlier, like, and sorry, I'm going to pivot away from the more political stuff just for 5 seconds. And that's, you talked about the difference in 3-point shooting. It would you guys bet your life savings that by the end of their careers, Kendrick Nunn has a higher 3-point percentage than Tyler Hero? Are we seriously? That's how down you guys are?
We're not talking about the end of their careers. We're talking about the end of this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I get, like, if this is a long-term play, I understand it. But here's an argument. I know, Greg, you've made this case, and when we pivot to whether the East is wide open, this is going to be relevant, okay? But you made this case too. We all have. Jimmy has a window, right? Okay. Are we basically just saying that doesn't matter now? That because the Heat can't win a title this season, that we're not going to consider that? Because when I've watched Clutch Corner this year, thank you, Alana, for checking in, everything seems to be about Jimmy's window. Trade the damn kids. Take care of Jimmy right now. Now all of a sudden we're saying, let's wait for Tyler to figure things out. Whereas the more polished player right now, we're going to put on the bench. Michael, Greg, I don't
think that's the point either of us are making. I think when you look at, and I will throw this in too. Do we really think the difference between Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn is the difference in a championship this season in Jimmy's window? Like, let's not act like Kendrick Nunn is going to do it.
Okay, but the other point I made last night, and I'll pivot to Ariel on this because I like his opinions better. Okay, let me pivot on this. Okay, I made the point last night. I've been in locker rooms for 25 years, and I know that when you play the guy who is struggling over a guy who is playing better, and it seems like there's a motive for it that isn't really about meritocracy at that stage, your best players don't tend to love that. Okay, now whatever Jimmy feels about Tyler personally, I can tell you Tyler hasn't been as connected off the floor with Jimmy and some of that stuff he was last season. Greg, we've talked about that. We know that. Okay, if you've got a guy in Kendrick Nunn who's producing next to Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, you got a guy in Tyler Hero who's not. How do you make the case to Bam and Jimmy that Tyler should still be playing, Ariel?
It's hard. I just think it's hard. I mean, I understand the whole the optics of benching somebody like that who's as well known and has the profile that Tyler Hero does, and what that does for the Heat going forward in terms of maximizing what your trade assets are and what they look like and the kind of moves that you can make. But frankly, regardless of whether or not they can win a championship this season, I mean, I don't think we can. I'm not picking them to win a championship. I'm probably a little bit lower on them than a lot of people are. But that being said, devil's advocate, you never know what can happen. Frankly, I mean, the Heat have been substantially better when Tyler Hero hasn't been on the court. He's like a minus 129 cumulatively, plus minus this season on the court, whereas Kendrick Nunn is minus 28 for the year.
Ariel, you realize half of that's in the last 6 games?
I'm not at all surprised. Yeah,
he's minus 70 in the past 6 games. Okay,
that's where I just think we need to just level set expectations and remember that, so this last 6 games, Tyler Hero has been minus 70 million or whatever you just said. Honestly,
I think it's still more than that.
Listen, Nunn's lowest low that I've seen as a member of the Heat is lower than any of the stuff I've seen Tyler Hero do. I've seen Nunn play so bad that he is literally the worst player on the court. And yeah, Tyler may have had a stretch like that, but I just don't think that he's this isn't a reoccurring theme. And Nunn has kind of had these peaks and valleys a lot more.
And I don't think that neither Greg nor myself is saying that Tyler's had a great season. And a lot of the comments coming through, they immediately hear us say, hey, I'd start Tyler over Nunn. And everyone's like, oh, this Tyler love is crazy. That's not what it is. But in this situation where Depot comes back, Tyler just fits much better, in my opinion. I think he puts the offense in a better situation than Kendrick Nunn does. And at that point, you're not really expecting defense from either of those two. So if that's what this debate is, that is where Greg and I stand. And I'm speaking for Greg here. I can let him clear, but I don't think either of us is saying Tyler all the way, right? That's not what we're doing. But in this situation, yes, we're taking Tyler over Nunn.
Listen, I was saying he was going to take the Steph Curry leap, so I'm the one with egg on my face. Okay, guys?
Right now to take the Steph Curry leap. I mean, Steph Curry's taking the Steph Curry leap this year. Okay, over the past 10 years.
I don't like that Manny keeps putting up Royals comments. Come on, man.
No, keep putting up Royals on our side now. He's over here. Right? All right, let's go to You're Wrong, Michael. I like that. All right, topic number 2 here.
Wait, there's the second thumb.
Tonight. Topic number 2. Victor Oladipo, all right? Mr. Social Media, about everything but basketball. Victor has a decision to make. As I tweeted today, the Heat aren't going to reveal anything because when a player is in a position where it's up to them, they don't want to put the player in a box. And everybody brought up Winslow, and I reminded everybody they didn't do that publicly. They didn't put Winslow in the box publicly. Now, did some stuff get out to some reporters over time? Of course it did, just like it did with Whiteside. But they didn't do it publicly. So they're not going to give any information about Oladipo because this is basically a Victor Oladipo decision. There is no new damage, okay, of any significance. It's related to the old injury. There are some others. When you have an injury like a quad, you're going to have a knee problem. You're going to have shin splints. You're going to have all that kind of stuff. But that's what it's related to. So I will start here with you, Michael. If you're Victor Oladipo, you're a free agent coming into this offseason. You're also trying to stay in this place. You're trying to make as much money as possible, but you want to stay here. I mean, you basically begged yourself out of 2 places. If you have discomfort and you're concerned about the future, do you play?
I think he has to play. I think he's losing out on a lot of money. He's losing, and he loses on a lot of faith with this organization. There's already been the reports out there about what the team felt about him before the trade, even back when he was in Indiana, the things that were holding them back. If he's not putting that effort forth with the team now, he can kiss any hope of a nice contract from this team goodbye. Regardless of whatever that ends up being in the summer, right? When he eventually hits free agency, he needs to play. He needs to put the effort forth, and he needs to show that I will fight through this stuff for you guys. If he doesn't do that, they'll just move on from it. I mean, they moved on from Justice, and you know how much they loved him. They really wanted the best for him. They moved on from that. I think if he doesn't play, they're going to move on from him too. So he has to.
What do you think, Ariel?
I think I agree with Michael, as much as it pains me to say it. I mean, I think they've got to. I think he has to play. The organization has all the leverage here going forward, right? He wants to be in Miami. He hasn't necessarily proven himself to the Heat, especially. I mean, I know it was a small sample size. He was only able to play in what was it, like 5-6 games, something like that. Like it wasn't a large sample size. They showed flashes definitely defensively. I know their numbers weren't spectacular with him in the lineup defensively, but there were, moments where they would absolutely blitz teams, get in the passing lanes and just create havoc, get in the fast break. And, the defense would lead to offense, and they showed promise as a potentially spectacular defensive team. But if you're Victor Oladipo, like Michael said, you're going into an offseason where there's been a lot of questions about you all season long from around the NBA fans, people within the NBA, whatever. And if you're not able to come back, I mean, I listened to the pod where you guys did with the gentleman who covered the Pacers, I believe it was, and he spoke and he had spoken about a lot of the concerns that the organization and the fans had with Victor Oladipo and his commitment to really being there. And you know what? That might start creeping up again if it's gotten out in the media that really right now it's a matter of, does Victor want to come back, not can Victor come back? And so I don't think I think if he's looking at it just from a purely unbiased, just logical perspective, it makes the most sense if you can do it safely to come back and help this team in the playoff push, because they need him, and I think he can substantially elevate their ceiling.
Greg, what's the line with the organization, do you think? I mean, because if he comes back and he plays poorly, then he hurts his chances. If he gets hurt, he hurts his chances to return, right? I mean, but also if he flames out with the third organization here, it's not even the third, it's the fifth, right? I mean, it's Orlando and Oklahoma City before that. I mean, you're talking about 5 organizations. I don't know how many other organizations are going to be willing to give him more than the mid-level, right? Or
it's true.
Mid-level and a player option.
This is going to sound weird, and I don't mean it to be like a morbid turn on this, but this is kind of like the Heat's best case scenario, other than him becoming like an all NBA unbelievable player, in that they have all the leverage here. But this is the other thing I want to mention. I think Oladipo is going to play like by next week. Like I don't believe that he's going to sit out for an extended period. He knows all this stuff. His agent knows all this stuff. His people know all this stuff. It's not a situation like Indiana where they're begging for him to take a max offer and he's like saying, let me think about it. Like, he has to earn that here, and the Heat have other options. They're signing trade options. There's guys that, John Collins, I just saw him yesterday, like looking disgruntled on my TV screen. Like, the Heat are going to have flexibility. So I just feel like he has to get back on the court. And I don't think he's unwilling to get back on the court. I just think that may be something that's following him from previous situations, but I don't think it's applicable here.
I got a really foreboding text about him today, which said it's somebody associated with the organization, not in the organization, but that deals with it, who texted me and said, it's really bad for him if he doesn't play, and it's potentially even worse for him if he does play.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with what I said.
It's a question of the 6 of 1/2 dozen. By the way, if you guys want to contribute on the super chats, we make sure to read those comments. We appreciate that. Yes, go ahead, Mike.
I will ask this though: if he doesn't come back, because everybody can kind of tell he can come back. It's up to him at this point. If he doesn't, to me, that feels just as bad as if he did come back and got injured. And actually, I would even argue that if he did come back and got injured, it might actually look maybe even slightly better, because it shows, hey, you went through it for us and you risked that and it happened, right? But if he just doesn't come back at all, then it's very obvious all he's caring about is that next step, is that next contract, not about this team. And at that point, it's going to be hard to tell Jimmy and Bam, hey, we're going to spend on this money on this guy who just said he didn't want to play this season because he was feeling a little hurt, he's got to come out.
Well, that's true. And also, look, they got a decision to make. We talked about Nunn earlier. They got a decision to make on Nunn, because, I mean, if Oladipo's coming back at money, they're not going to pay Kendrick Nunn, because there's no reason to have both of them in that case. All right, number 3, and then we're going to let you guys pitch your new shows here. Again, if you guys want to go to the Super Chats, you can do that. If you need to get your estate plan, go to markbrownpa.com. All right, the East. James Harden, everybody's favorite on Clutch Corner, is going to miss additional time. He's been described as back at square one. Back at square one. I guess that trip to Tootsie's took a lot out of him.
I think it was cheetahs.
No, he wouldn't waste his time with cheetahs. All right, so here we go. No, I'm sorry, cheetahs. We actually want them as a sponsor. I had a meeting scheduled with them for a couple weeks now, so I'm sorry, cheetahs. I just think Harden.
Well, there goes that.
Yeah, that's out the window.
I mean, Harden needs.
I tossed you a softball.
I know, and can we cut that out? There's not that many of those establishments we can reach out.
Everybody's already clipped it. It's over.
Oh my God, it's over. All right. So anyway, Cheetahs, Scarlets, any of them, whichever one that Harden ended up at this week. Okay, not that I know any of them. It didn't work out so well. Durant is out for a period of time again. Kyrie could take a sabbatical to the same tent that Ricky Williams went to for a few years. We don't know. Okay, could leave at any time. Is the East wide open, Ariel?
Is it wide open? I don't know. What is your definition of wide open? Does that mean it is open? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let's start here. First thing, okay, is there a definitive favorite in your mind? And B, if the Heat got hot, could they legitimately make a run to the finals?
I think that right now I would probably lean Philadelphia as being the favorite. I think Joel Embiid is I don't know if he's more unstoppable than Kevin Durant per se, but he's like right up there. There just aren't a lot of dudes who can check that guy and slow him down in what he does. He can hurt you from everywhere on the court. They've got really good perimeter defense. They've got shooters. Their lineup is more balanced than it was last season. So I have a little bit more faith in them now. I would probably peg them as the favorite if James Harden is not back by playoff time. Milwaukee, to me, is a different team than it was last season. I think the Drew Holiday upgrade substantially upgrades their perimeter or rotation, especially if, Coach Bud shows a willingness to play his guys more, his starters more in the playoffs. That might change the dynamic there as well. And I don't think you can count out Brooklyn right now. They still got Kevin Durant. They've got Kyrie Irving, and we don't know what's going to happen with James Harden. Is there a path for the Heat if they get really hot? Everything is matchup dependent to me. I think it would have to be the perfect storm all over again. I think Victor Oladipo would have to come back and play, really well. For them for their ceiling to be elevated enough for them to push those teams. I think they would have to get the right matchup. I don't know who it is. It might be Milwaukee. For whatever reason, that's the team I'm least afraid of for the Heat in terms of the better teams in the East. So can they really make a run? Everything has to break their way. I'm not picking it, but it's not impossible.
I'll set the two of you guys up with this. If you had to tell me right now I had to pick one team to come out of the East, I would pick the Bucks. But if I was to say one of the three teams at the top that I think that the Heat could beat, it would be the Bucks. That's how I feel. I think Milwaukee is a nightmare matchup for the Nets. They've got three guys who can defend those three guys, okay, and can score. And I just think that the Giannis breakthrough is going to happen at some point here. And I also think Bud can't lean on the bench as much as he did last year because he doesn't have a bench. Last year he had a bench he could go to. He leaned on it way too much. Thank you, Christian. Can Bam guard Joel? Stats say no, but I think so. Interesting topic there. Let's go to you on this, Michael. Is there a definitive favorite in the East? And again, can the Heat get hot enough to actually get to the finals?
Yeah, my definitive favorite is going to have to be the Nets. I just think the Nets are still going to find a way to get it together. I think Harden is going to find a way to play. He's going to find a way to do enough. And that team just has too much talent, in my opinion, to really let it slip like that. I agree that there's a lot of players that can cause mismatches against them when it comes to size because they don't have too much of it. They don't have basically any of it defensively. But I think offensively, it's going to be way too hard to keep up with that team, and they'll be able to blow other teams out in a 7-game series when they need to. They'll be able to step up and do it. So they're still my favorites, regardless of what's going on. But I think the Heat can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I just don't see the spot into the actual finals. I just don't see them. If they get through the gauntlet into the Eastern Conference Finals, I would be amazed. I would be so proud of the team. I just don't know. They've already made it through all of that to get there, to then take that one extra step. I don't really see it. They'd have to be the hottest they've ever been. They'd have to recreate the bubble for basically all of the players, right? Like you'd need that Goran again. And you need that Tyler again. You'd need Victor Oladipo to stay healthy and be consistent. That's just a lot of things that have to happen all at the same time. So if they stay hot, sure, they can make these conference finals, but that's just a lot of things to ask for, and I just don't see it happening.
Alfredo Arteaga, our friend over at 3 Yards for Carry, our leading Dolphins podcast, mentions they play, and I know, Greg, you focused on this today. They've played only 7 games together. We know how long it took the big 3 Heat to figure things out, right? Yeah. And those were 3 guys who were willing to sacrifice to a certain degree, each of them. This one seems harder, right?
I mean, I think that when they did play, they looked like it was all seamless. So like, there's a part of me that they just look like such a juggernaut. But like you guys, all of us who watch the Heat, I mean, of anyone who's seen a big 3 come together knows that like, you got to get punched in the mouth and you got to see how you react to that. And like, we can say, oh, the Nets are so good, they're never going to get punched in the mouth. That's bullshit. Like somebody's going to punch him in the face. So like, we just got to see how they respond. And I think right now I would lean Philly. Joel Embiid is like the best mid-range jump shooter on planet Earth. And he's a center and it's weird. And he's just unstoppable. And y'all know I hate the Sixers, but just right now I think they're a little more balanced. So I would lean that direction because if Brooklyn gets punched in the mouth and they survive, they're going to run through everyone in the East. But until I see that, I'm not sold.
All right. And the Heat, I mean, you're the guy here who's supposed to give us hope. I mean, best case scenario. Like
they can't finish 7. That's the key here. Right. If they finish 6 or 4 or 5, there's a path to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'll just say that the organization has always lived under the philosophy like we just want a shot at getting to the finals. And And like, so I know that that's not winning a championship, but that's kind of what you shoot for. Do you want to just have that opportunity? There's a path, but
Yeah, if they play Nunn
even
over
I can't pump that much sunshine, guys.
if they play Nunn over Hero. All right, before we get to the news shows here, by
No
the way,
shot.
one announcement we need to make too. Dwayne Dedman, the Heat can't have nice things. He's in the protocols, the COVID protocols now. After he was averaging, I think I put it up right after I put it up. This came out 22 and 18 per 36 minutes this season. By the way, we've got this now. You can see this on Clutch Corner. This is premium CBD. It's just sent to me. We've got some on the way to Greg. I'm trying to turn it the right direction. Go to Therapist Preferred, 20% off if you mention five. Actually, I'm going to give you the exact code. It's 5 reasons, the number 5 and then reasons. Okay, 20% off anything on their website, therapistpreferred.com. All right, let's get to the new programs here. Since Ariel won the argument, I will let him go first.
Says who? Says the moderator, who was already on that side. No shot.
The guy who's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, he might not make the right decision, but anyways, Gad Cartagena, myself, and the powerful and intelligent Marco Romo are debuting a show on Thursday night that's going to be led into by the Clutch Corner, so it's going to premiere at 9 p.m. It's called The Full Court Press, and we are going to be talking all things NBA. It's going to be an NBA show. We're going to slightly lean. There's our lovely logo.
That's beautiful.
We are
going fantasy league. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
We are going to lean slightly Miami Heat because that's what we do around here. We love the Heat, but it's going to be a general NBA show. We're going to talk about all things NBA, whatever's hot in the rumor mill, whatever's worth talking about. We'll hit on it. We'll have interesting guests on most weeks. So tune into that. We'll be, like I said, premiering Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern after the Clutch Corner.
All right, Michael, I'm going to allow you to go, even though you've suffered a humbling defeat. Go ahead.
You know what? I don't think anybody suffered a defeat here. And no matter what any of us say, we all know which way it's actually going to go. Like, we all know exactly what's going to go. So then there's no argument. We won. If he's the one that plays, we won. It's over. But myself and Alana do have a new show coming out. It is a podcast that we're releasing. It is called Feel the Heat. We don't have a logo yet. We're still looking for like audio for like an intro and outro kind of thing. We did actually record our first episode last night. That went really well. It's a show about the Miami Heat and Miami Heat culture. So it's about all the players, the lives on and off the court, what culture means to us, what kind of players would fit in the culture. Alana's going to try to talk to you about their style, and I'm going to have literally no idea on that. There's a lot of different things that we're going to discuss on that show. It's going to be all Heat-centric, all Heat-focused. There's going to be a lot of pumping up of Pat Riley and everything this team has done in the past. And last night's episode that we recorded was a whole lot of fun. So that is coming out tomorrow. Look for that on Twitter. We'll release it on there probably in the evening when our logo is done. But it's going to be a fantastic show. Really looking forward to doing it consistently.
I'm glad that you found someone to do a logo because I can't find Smoot. So if you ever want to, he's just doing Top Shot all day long. So that
he's probably on that Dogecoin train.
He wouldn't
man.
do a culture logo anyway.
Well, we're trying to get the Clutch Corner T-shirt on the site. So Adam, I know you're following. I need the larger size on that so we can get that up. By the way, we will have, since 5 on the Floor is kind of the mothership of the podcast side, we will have the representatives from both of these shows on at times for various segments to introduce what they're doing there as well. Check out our sponsors, markbrownpa.com, Drink a Biscayne Bay Brew. Go to manscaped.com, use the code 5RSN, markbrownpa.com if you need the estate planning, 954-248-4068. And also, Michael didn't mention, but this week, coming up on Thursday, he'll be part of that Dolphins team for draft night. So
next Thursday.
We've got a full crew. Louis Sung is not allowed to eat. He has to take several days off from work to host that show. We're going to punish him in that way. Anyway, thanks a lot. We'll be back tomorrow night. Spurs Heat. No Deadman. No reason to watch.